He told me, Priscila, yo te he dicho millones de veces que si necesitas algo, que me lo pidas. Hola, beautiful human. Welcome back to the Fresh and Healing Podcast. Hey. My name is Priscila. You should know that by now. But I am the host of this podcast, the creator and founder of something that is coming very soon. And I am going to give you some information on that later in today's episode. I'm so excited. But I was thinking, like, why does it feel like it's been so long since I've talked to you? Like, did I miss a week or qué pasó? And no, I haven't missed a week. Last week we had an episode with Michael, and then the week before, you know what happened? I was so tired when I did the last solo episode. So 2 weeks ago, I recorded it Wednesday night. I was like falling asleep when I was hearing it back and editing it because I was trying to do it all, the same day. And so if you made it through that episode, te quiero dar un aplauso porque that must have been quite the interesting journey. I wonder how you guys, like when you heard it, if you could tell that I was struggling to get through that. Pero bueno, it was, I felt like I really wanted it to be about like the 3-year anniversary and I had a vision, pero se me acabó el tiempo, la energía, and it's all good. We're forgiving ourselves. So today, like I mentioned, I feel like I have so much that I want to talk to you about. A lot of things are moving in my personal world, in my first gen healing, and other cositas world. And let's see, where should we start? Well, first, les quiero mandar un abrazote. Donde sea que estén, como sea que estén, I hope that you guys are doing good. I hope that you are taking care of yourself and finding ways to still feel or finding and are still experiencing moments that allow you to be grateful for your life, for being here. Porque I think that sometimes it can be easy to get caught up in everything that is not going quote unquote right or everything that is going on around us. And it can make us forget that there are beautiful things to be grateful for. And I think that if you guys have been hearing my podcast, then there was 2 years where I lived in Tennessee, and it was to be there for my sister and her journey of fighting cancer. And honestly, I feel like those 2 years really taught me what it means to feel like everything in your world goes dark, and finding ways to still be grateful for living, for your day to day. I feel like it was this shock that allowed for me to be like, y'all, okay, les voy a decir to the extremity that I sometimes had to like live second by second, porque if I thought too far ahead, it was overwhelming. If I thought back, it was nostalgic and overwhelming. And so I learned to be like present in the moment and grateful for the smallest things. Like I remember que corté un limón and I just like looked at it and I was like, wow, limes actually, un limón, a lime. I was like, they're so beautiful. Limes are so beautiful. And I don't know, I think like those were the anchors, reminding myself that this is my first time living too, It's all of our first times living, potentially, no sé, depending if you believe in, past lives, pues entonces maybe it's not our first time, but it's our first time that we remember, right? And so, like, find wonder and joy in the smallest things. Sometimes we forget to enjoy the world around us porque ya no lo, like, think you're like one thing that I remember coming into como the idea that came through was like, think of yourself as an alien on this earth that has never seen a cloud before, or the sun, or the fact that the sun rises and sets, or a car. Like, find wonder in the things que según tú ya conoces. And I feel like you're going to see how there is so much that we just skip over and kind of like blur the vision of because we're so like in survival mode. But the reality is like this is what there is here. And so like can we pay attention and see it and notice it, like look around your room, or if you're in your car right now, look around and be like, okay, what color is the sky today? Are there clouds in the sky or no? Is it foggy? Isn't fog so cool? Like how weird that, sometimes the same place looks so different if it's foggy or rainy or sunny, like how much a place and the sense of it can change. Scents, textures, no say, like fall in love with the little things. I feel like you're gonna find that there is so much. Um, y bueno, that was not the point. That I wasn't expecting to preach to y'all in that way, pero no sé, a lo mejor some of you guys need to hear it porque thankfully, there has been some good news lately. Like in California, Prop 50 passed. I think in New York, a Democrat governor passed or won. Entonces, I know there's like positive things también, but I know it doesn't erase everything that is happening. There's still that fear. There's still that trauma. So I hope that this helps you in one small way. And so with that being said, I felt like today, or actually, let's see, let's talk about the previous two episodes, and then I'll share kind of a little lesson that I want to share with y'all, que yo he estado aprendiendo y que I think it relates to like perspective shifts. It's a very recent story, so that's why I want to share it with you. I think those can be funner, and like they feel more alive because they're not that far away. So I'm holding, if you're watching or if you're just listening, I'm holding this velita, and I'll talk to you guys about the significance of it and the kind of story around it. But before I get into that, one of the intents that I had for solo episodes was that we could maybe chit chat a little bit about previous episodes, so that we can like debrief. That's something that my friends and I say, like after we go out or we have an outing of sorts, or an experience. It's like, oh, can we debrief? Like, can we break it down and talk through it? So I felt like, yeah, let's debrief. Hay que platicar de las last two episodes and some things that maybe I want to share, or give insight on. The first one that I want to talk about is the episode that we had with Adelie. So Adelie is this beautiful mujer that has her business. It's the Bitter Woman, and she came on for just a part one with us to share her story. And in it, she mentioned things like anger that turns into bitterness, right? Being an elder, an eldest in her family, the eldest in her family. And I think one thing that super stood out to me from that episode that I want to debrief with y'all is something that she said when I asked her, but Adelie, like when you started to make these changes, she was in her HR job, she was like working towards moving up in that. And then she started to glitch, right? I love to call it glitching, which is kind of like, this isn't working for me anymore. And so she said that I think she resigned and traveled for a couple of months and then came back. And then, she got like her statement tattoo on her chest that you can see. And she just started to shift, right? And I asked her like, but what about that voice of, pero Adelie, tú eres una niña responsable que tiene que ser un ejemplo para tus siblings. And she said, I am an example, and because of it is why I choose to like go on this path. Because I am an example, because I am responsable, I am choosing to become myself and step further into my path that is calling me. And I thought that was so like so beautiful the way that she said it, porque sometimes it takes us a long time to see it that way. Sometimes we feel held back by, the version of ourselves that others look up to or speak on, or respect or admire. And I love, it's kind of like picking that all up and saying yes. And because you like, it's like not doing it for others, but like doing it for yourself, of saying like, yes, and because of all of that, because I am a leader, because I am responsable, because I am an ejemplo, I choose to be an example of being true to myself, taking up space, using my voice. How beautiful is that? I think younger me would have, I don't know if she would have known that that was for her, but had I heard it and it clicked, I think it would have been so powerful hearing that earlier on in my life, recognizing like it's exactly because you are who you are that you need to dare become more of it, as opposed to feel caged in by it and held back by it. And so I wanted to make sure that I like pointed that out in case you missed it, in case you find yourself right now in an identity that doesn't feel like it fits anymore, that that maybe at some point served you, that maybe at some point made you feel good or made you succeed or gave you something that it's no longer giving you. And potentially you're feeling the fear of leaving it behind. I hope you remind yourself of who you are, and that the biggest ejemplo that you can be for yourself and for others is to be true to yourself, is to be in alignment with yourself. Because otherwise, I think when you start living from a place of sacrificio in the name of others or in the name of reputation or validation, there are parts of you que se empiezan a apagar. And I think it's not worth the sacrifice. That's a really high price to pay. Um, and it adds up. Oof, let me name that. It adds up. So you may not notice it in the beginning, but it tallies up, and eventually like something just starts to feel off, wrong, like it's not enough, like you're not fulfilled. Um and so yeah, maybe I'm speaking to some people that are in that point of remembering that there's more to you, remembering that the sacrifice, like, you don't have to sacrifice who you are and what you want in the name of others' opinions or expectations of you. And obviously, like on this podcast, like when I express myself and share things, I'm speaking to a group of different people. So take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Um, because I don't know your very specific situation. And I want to continue to say that on these episodes, porque I think that sometimes when we find ourselves in the spaces where we're a little bit desperate for change, for something different, we're like, and when we're not rooted in ourselves, we feel the need to cling on to other people's voices, or advice, or advice or words, right? And so I hope that in my podcast and in my work, I always remind you to connect back to you and to root into you, into your true, like into your center, and make decisions from there, you know? Because sometimes we hear like the messaging, like, take the leap, do the thing, just jump, you're never going to be ready. And it's this messaging that sometimes we need it to, like, okay, to wake us up, but también sometimes it can be damaging if it's not where you're at, if you're not ready for that leap. It can be really dysregulating to take leaps, to lose certain things, certain maybe resources or people or support. So please always remember to tune into yourself también and make decisions from there. But yeah, I felt like, that was such a powerful moment or part of the conversation. And I think in general, speaking with Adelie, where she brought in that feeling of anger and not knowing how to express it, where to place it. Unfortunately, I think, the experiences that our parents had growing up made them very emotionally unavailable at times, which meant that our emotions had no room to be expressed, and or they didn't even know how to like hold us, like hold our emotions. And because of that, like then they start to turn we turn them inward, and they start to work internally. And for her, she mentioned like, and it turned into bitterness, right? Like, and it turned into being angry at the world, at my family, at myself. And so then it's like, okay, what do I do with this anger? How do I alchemize it? How do I transform it? But I also like that we got to talk about how we see that we see those ejemplos sometimes in our families and in our circles of las tías criticonas, amargadas, enojonas, they too at some point maybe had a lot of these emotions, experienced a lot of injustice or betrayal, and just things that they maybe felt and didn't have space to hold. I want to name, for example, a moment that I thought was so beautiful and important, a conversation that I had with my mom that reminds me of this. There was a conversation we were having after the gym where I started to speak again on my experience of my past, of the way that I was like connecting dots. And she was like kind of tired of me talking about my past, and she was kind of like, can you just stop taking us there? Like I did the best that I could, and you constantly bring it up, right? And and I remember, thankfully, at that time I had built some tools, so I was able to, like, instead of instantly getting triggered and maybe getting upset and creating an argument out of that, I remember that I was able to take a deep breath, and from a very calm place, let her know, I said, I can shut up about this. I could stop talking to you about this. I understand why it's really hard for you to hold this for me or with me, because no one did it for you, I told her. Um, and so I get why you don't think you should need to hold this space with me. And we can do that. We don't have to talk about it. You don't have to hold it with me. But just like you're holding on to the stuff that you don't feel like anyone held for you, then I will do the same. And then I'm going to do the same to my kids if I have kids. And my kids will do the same to theirs. And I don't want to do that, I told her. I don't want to live and feel so triggered when my child is expressing to me their feelings and their experiences and just wants to talk to me. And it was so beautiful, I think, because I feel like it hit that time. Maybe I've said it in different ways prior, but that moment she kind of understood, and she was like, you're right. Like, I don't want you to not feel comfortable talking to me about stuff. It just feels like overwhelming, and it was like, wow, okay, like, name it. It's all good, it's like, it's okay to say this is overwhelming, but like sometimes, yeah, the people around us hold up such big walls that even when we are trying to soltar a little bit of it, it could be really hard because it's never well received, or it's given back 10 times with más enojo y reproche, and so then we're just left with like a bigger load to hold. So um so anyways, I think, like, yeah, it reflected, that conversation brought in like so many gems of knowledge, of things to think about, of like, sometimes we're in families where everyone is overwhelmed with their own emotions and doesn't know what to do with them because we weren't taught how to communicate, we weren't taught how to process. And so everything, and no one really knows like how to tell each other, like, hey, like, let's set this down, let's approach it a different way, or let's let our true emotions out, so yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode with her. If you did, please make sure that you go check out her work, follow her, and let us know, like, if you have any follow-up questions. I think that would be really neat to be able to take back to the guests and be like, hey, people enjoyed your episode. Here's what they want to know from you next, and maybe she or like previous guests can make a video answering your guys' question on their social media so that you go and follow them. And so I think I want to take a pause before we then move into talking about Michael, and I want to share with you guys some exciting uh, news. I think over the last couple of episodes, or maybe in September, it was a bit ago, I had mentioned creating a workbook. I think I even told you what I wanted to make it about. It was going to be like well, actually, I'm not going to tell you if I didn't, porque I still want to release that, but it's going to be at a different time. Anyways, I have been feeling again the need to create community. I've been feeling like during these times, like it's hard enough to go through a healing and awakening journey when things are quote unquote okay. And during these times, me imagino que it's like even, oof, like everything is times 10, you know? And I think that I've learned that through this podcast, I have the opportunity of bringing together or getting to speak to people that are on the same path. And now, not only does it do something when I put out the episode, it always does something within me. It's always like a little validation or a little reminder you're not alone in this journey. You're not crazy for the things that you've experienced or gone through, for the ways in which you've questioned, different things. It like creates maybe some of the confidence that I'm able to transmit when I create episodes for you. And so I've been feeling this deep desire to create something in which you guys get to talk to each other. Because I also love when I hear from you guys and you guys tell me like, "Hey, I love the podcast. It's something that has walked along my journey." And so I'm like, dang, I wish like I could bring you guys together somewhere, somehow, so that you can hear each other talk, so that we could like after a podcast episode, maybe talk about like, hey, what stood out with to you? Or do you like this quote that was said, let's expand on it. Cosas como esas. And also like the feeling of coming back to yourself, back to center, for those of you that are having a hard time doing so, providing maybe exercises and meditations and visualizations to do so. For those of you that are more like in an alignment phase of getting clarity of what's for you, what's not, what you want, what you don't, providing similar things like journal prompts, meditations, visualizations, maybe a couple worksheets. And even for those of you that are in the process of sharing your magia, right? Of getting to know yourself and being like, this is my authentic self. I'm ready to embody that wherever I'm headed, wherever I go, and or even like in service, right? Like I'm ready to help others or I'm ready to create my own thing. So with all of that being said, I am putting together something that is called Soul Primas. Yay! And that is a glimpse into what my vision for Soul Primas is. And yes, I'm calling it Soul Primas, but if you're listening and you're a primo prime, please know this is also for you. You are more than welcome in the group. And I'm this is a glimpse, like I said. This is a sneak peek. This is coming soon. This is the first time that I'm mentioning it on the podcast. I've started to mention it on my socials. It is coming very, very soon, and I'm wanting to do a soft launch this month. So just be on the lookout. Next episode, I think that I'm gonna add it in the middle of the episode and tell you more details. But if in this moment you heard that and you're like, yes, like I need something like that, then I'm gonna have linked my in the description my link tree so that you can click on it and it's gonna say Sol Primas Portal. And you can put your name and your email so I can keep you up to date, and like send you a direct email when it's ready to launch. But like I said, it's coming really soon. And also, it's going to be super affordable. I envision this being a big group. That's my hope. I want this to be a big group that gets together ever so often. I'll give details later, but every so often, that has an online portal where there's like I said, meditations, visualizations, worksheets that you can access. kind of like mini journeys, I think is what I'm going to call them, that are related to some of the things that we talk about in the podcast. So there's going to be that, there's going to be meetings, and there's going to be another special thing. But it's going to be, like I said, really affordable porque I don't want money to get in the way of you being a part of this if you know this is something you want to be a part of. I see this, like I said, as a big group thing and an ongoing thing. Porque yo creo que things are going to get even weirder around here, and we're going to have to be more and more connected to our intuition, to our discernment, to our truth, you know. And if if you're in the process of finding that for yourself, and embodying it, then I want to create a container that kind of serves as a very easy base to come back to over and over again. It's not going to take you through the whole journey, right? But it's going to be kind of like an extension to the podcast where you not only listen to conversations, but now you become a part of them, right? That sounds so exciting to me. I hope it sounds exciting to you, porque I don't know. I feel like this is what's next, and I'm excited to share it with you. So again, it's coming very, very soon. Probably by next meeting, I'm gonna have a link for you to sign up. So ponte las pilas next Thursday. But this Thursday, like now, if you are like, oh, this sounds interesting, I want to know when I can sign up, or I want to know details as soon as they come out, then you can go to the description of this episode. I'm gonna link my link tree, y ahí va a haber un form, 2-question form for your name and your email. Okay? Perfecto. Perfecto. Okay. I'm so excited for you guys for me to share more and for you guys to ask questions. Let me know what y'all think, if you're excited for this. Because I think it's been a long time coming. We need that back in here. So now let's talk about Michael's episode. Whew. Michael's episode, we talked about the 5D, the awakening folks, the astrology girlies. And I'm so grateful that Michael was up for having this conversation, for being on the podcast for his third time. And I just feel like I knew when I first came across his page and we came across each other that we were on a similar wavelength, and that we are both very like logic based, let's say, from the cabeza, hablamos de aquí. We're those first gens que quieren, that had to be good and responsible and do the things. And so we come from that place, but we've been finding our way back to being centered, soul led, kind of spirit led, And I think it's been so cool to be able to see like the changes he's gone through, the way he embodies his energy, the shifts in that, and then kind of parallel, kind of my own experience and journey of doing the same, right? So I feel like, or I hope that you guys found that interesting to be able to hear a similar voice every year and see like the difference in even the way like we speak, what we talk about, and the way we interact. So I thought that was super cool. But obviously the topic that we spoke on, I think, is what I want to highlight. And I think that going along with why I'm creating Soul Primas is that it's so important to ground in whatever part of your journey you're in. Whether you're in your tower moment where everything is falling apart and nothing makes sense anymore, grounding is so important. Or if you're in your alignment phase where you're rediscovering who you are and learning and being more curious about life, or opening doors to new possibilities, important to ground. If you're stepping into new roles, going through transitions of your own, creating something, it's important to ground. And so I think like that's part of the vision for Soul Primas, pero it's part of what we talked about in that episode también, right? Which is like hope and tapping into this hope of a new earth, let's say, or a new way of existing, age of Aquarius, all of that, yes, because it brings us hope and it gives us like a guiding light. And we need to be grounded. Because I feel like in moments like this is when like things like cults can be created, because people are so desperate for like hope and all of the things, que se pueden meter en cosas como there's gonna like scams, right? Cults, just things that are not good for us, that promise a beautiful ending fast and quick and easy, and that aren't real. I imagine even the same with like careers. There's going to be fear around the longevity of jobs. There's going to be fear around um, or there's going to be distortion around what's real and what's fake, real news versus fake news, real events versus fake events, opportunities and not real ones. So I think that we're entering a place of even more distortion, of even more smoke and mirrors and illusions. And I think, that conversation hopefully reminded us all that we need to be grounded in reality. Like, it's okay to tap into that, but also because our reality can be really dense and really hard. Um, but it will also be important to kind of hold both, como que agarrarte de la mano de las dos, so that you don't get pulled away too much into the flu, the fufu, or what did Adelie call it? Fúfaro, algo así, no sé. And not to let it gravitate you so to the dark place, right? To the place of hopelessness, porque tampoco. So I think like it's going to be this delicate dance that I call, right, where we're going to have to navigate and like and have really good discernment about what to listen to, what to give our energy to, what to believe in, who to put on a pedestal, right? And with that one, I want to mention, and I hope that, like, as for example, we had, this good news for Democrats and all of these things happening because of Democrat voters. I think people and systems are going to continue to disappoint us until we learn the lesson to not put anything or anyone on a pedestal. I think we continuously try to find new heroes and place all of our trust there. So, like, kind of give all of our power away so that we can sit back and just kind of go back to numbing and go back to like our sedentary life, right? And I think that the lesson of these times is going to be getting disappointed, getting like the illusions falling over and over again until we learn to take our power back. So I wanted to name that. I think like obviously como que there's a lot more to that, but no sé, I hope that as you're, no sé, I hope those of you tuning in get where I'm coming from and what I'm trying to say. Pero it's kind of like, no se confíen, like I'm not saying that these people are bad or that the Prop 50 is bad. No, I'm glad it all happened. But also, these times are teaching us like there's a lot of work to be done. Y no lo vamos a hacer nomás for voting for other people, because people are people, systems are systems, and we've been shown beyond it already. So we need to stay vigilant, have high discernment, and stay in our power. You know what I mean, Jelly Bean? All right. So that was that. Now there's one more thing or story that I want to bring to you today. And it's in regards to this velita. So if you guys have heard of the brand Bella Doña, no, yeah, it is Bella Doña. It's this really beautiful Latina owned brand. And the other day I was driving to work, and on my way to work, I saw their name on like a window, and I was like, what? They have a store? And so then I like went and I searched like their name, and they had headquarters in the city where I work, and I was like, and it was so cool because literally like 2 days later, my friend and I were trying to see like what to do on Dia de los Muertos, and we see an event by them. And it ends up being at that place. So I got to visit Bella Doña's headquarters, and it was for an event called like Candle Magic, right? Or something like that, like setting intentions with candles. And so I actually had never done a candle myself, nor purchased candles with intentions like that, you know? And I think it's for two reasons. One, because I grew up Católica, and yes, I still think I have, some, what would we call it? Como conditioning, pues, that comes to the surface when I approach something that I don't know about. And I was telling my friend, it's so interesting because, like, for example, tarot, I did have to work through some of that conditioning, but I ended up feeling comfortable with it and not feeling some type of way about it. But candles, for some reason, and the way like of setting intentions and stuff, todavía como que me daba un poco de cosita, como ay no sé, I don't know if that's good or bad or like And my friend was like, "Why? Like candles?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so that's kind of like an edge of mine. And so obviously I challenge myself all the time to meet my own edges. And so when I saw that event, I was like, let's go, let's see. I want to see how it feels to me. Like, does it feel like my body's like, nah, girl, or does it feel like, yes, like let's get into this stuff? So I went to this event, and they gave you like a veladora, they gave you a vinyl sticker and a sticker to put like your intentions and just cute little things to decorate your velita. And I feel like I decorated it so cute. It came out really beautiful, and I personally did enjoy the like the crafts part of it, because it's like arts and crafts and doing it around other Latinas, beautiful mujeres with the chola vibe, which I feel like since I was born in East LA, I always desired to be a chola. And life chose a different path for me, pero bueno. I love the aesthetic, right? And kind of like the old English letters and stuff like that. So super cute. But what I want to talk to you guys about is how fast do you forget the intentions you set out for yourself? How fast do you mm, put aside the commitments that you make to yourself? And I want to talk about that because in this candle making workshop, we were told to set some intentions and write them out. And so what I wrote out was, I am safe, I am guided, I am protected. I also, well, I'm going to keep it at that. I am safe, I am guided, I am protected. Okay. So I wrote my candle intentions. I finished off my candle. My friend and I left the event, and she goes in her car. I go in mine. And then I turn on my car, and the battery light turns on. And I was like, no, but my car turned on. So it didn't sound like my battery was having issues. So I was like, that's weird. So then I look quickly on the internet, like, what does this mean? And it says like uh, likely issues with the charging of your battery, so, something like that. So right away, I drove it to a place where they could check my battery, and they told me, oh, your battery is okay, but your alternator, I think it's called, tu alternador, is smoking. They said there was like smoke coming out of it. And my stomach dropped. Like, I was like, okay, so what does that mean? Can I drive my car? And he was like, you can, but I wouldn't recommend driving it after today before you get it checked. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. So on my way home, my stomach dropped. Like, I could just feel stress bubbling up, and me thinking like, oh my God, how much is that going to be? I don't have money for that right now. Like, dang, like, oh, I was feeling so good today, and so good with like soul primas coming up, and just so good in general. Things are looking up in different ways. Whoa, oof. Oh, yo, I haven't even told you the other thing. Okay. Bueno, I had just kind of come up from a little hard moment, and so I was like, no, like I don't want to go back to feeling like caquita, and feeling like now I have to deal with this. And I don't know if any of you resonate, but for me, car stuff is like doctor stuff. And I had just done some hard doctor stuff. So like I felt like I needed a break and that doing car stuff was going to be overwhelming. And what I mean by that is como que me da cosa lidiar con las cosas, like for example, if I have to make an appointment with a specialist, it will take me some time of prepping and being like, okay, girl, you got this to make the appointment. And then, yeah, this happens. And I'm like, no, I don't want to deal with mechanics and just like my budget is low. So here's where I want to remind you, how fast do you forget your intentions, your affirmations, your commitments to self? Porque literally 10 minutes before that had happened, or 30 minutes before that had happened, I had made this candle. ¿Y qué le puse? I am safe, I am guided, I am protected. ¿Y por qué le puse eso? Because sometimes I don't feel like I am safe or guided or protected. And I wanted that constant reminder. We're supposed to burn this candle for 7 days in a row and say our intentions and affirmations. So I think it was once I got home and once I got through like the thoughts of, dang, do I have to sell something, or like, ¿qué tengo que hacer? Porque I looked up the alternadores and they're like, it was like $600 to $1,000. And I was like, oh my gosh. Bueno, then I'm like, oh, my vela, right? I bring it off of the car and I read it again and I'm like, dang. How did I already forget that I said, I am safe, I am guided, I am protected? So I kind of like como que something clicked and said, what if I believe this to be true? What if I say, because if I wrote it, it's because I'm saying it's true. So what happens when I choose to believe that this too is part of me being safe, part of me being guided, and part of me being protected? And the first part of that, or the next part of it, is instantly the way that I felt about it shifted, which was kind of crazy. Because I went from scarcity, like, oh my God, to deep breath. What can I do? Ideas flow in. What should I do? And it's like a flip of a switch, right? Like something shifted. A door opened. And so an idea came through. I remembered a moment where my padrino had told me, cuando tu like on batteries, you need to put, like you need to get warm water or boiling water and pour it over don't do it by the way, but this is what he told me, like pour it over the connectors so that any acid buildup or residue gets removed. So the next morning I woke up, I did that to the battery, I let it dry, I turned on my car and I observed my battery and the alternator, and the battery light went off. I was like, ooh, interesting. I drove my car for a bit, again, observed the alternator, no se prendió. I hope I'm saying it right. But it didn't smoke, nothing bad. It sounded okay. And I was like, okay, I fixed the problem, right? So then I did some more research and it said like you should still get it checked out, because you might have just fixed the problem temporarily, but maybe there's still an issue. So I was like, okay. So then I do the hard thing, right? So again, I choose I am safe, I am guided, I am protected. Reminding myself of that also made me remember this feeling of, I love my car. I've had my car for a really long time, since college, and I love it so much. And I was like, and I know my car loves me too. And I know it's gonna come through for me. And that might sound funny and kind of fake, but I really feel that. I like in that moment, I really felt that. And I do feel that. I was like, I know I love my car so much and I know it loves me. I've experienced so much with that car. So many emotions, like heartbreaks and good things and hard things. And yeah, I love my carrito. But anyways, when I thought of that, I felt like it's gonna be all right. And I was like, okay. So then I called my padrino and I was like, oh, can you come check my car out? So yeah, so then today he comes, and again, I read my candle. I am safe, I am guided, I am protected. Okay. He comes and I looked at him and I was just looking at him with so much gratitude because it has been a mechanic his whole life, and he's always told us, like, if you need me to come check your car, let me know. But I always have felt that he has a lot on his plate and that I don't want to put more on his plate. So I try to avoid calling him. And in fact, I hadn't spoken to him since my birthday, which was 3 months ago. And so I felt really guilty and bad that I hadn't contacted him to say hello, ask how he was doing, and that I was about to call him just to ask him for a favor. But I did. I called him. He came. And so, yeah, I was looking at him. I even recorded like kind of his hands on my working on my car because he's getting older, and I've been very much so in the mood of like nostalgia and recognizing that, you know, life isn't forever and we never know what can happen. And so I was like, I want to remember like his essence and who he's been in our lives. And yeah, I just felt like, so I lo grabé, and then sus manos, pues, working on the car. And I was talking to him, catching up with him, and he was checking my oils and different things. And like, um, thankfully, everything was okay. Like, he checked everything and he said, everything looks really good. And when I got into my car to turn it on to check like the lights, I saw like a ladybug was on my dashboard. And for me, like ladybugs remind me of my childhood. I grew up in East LA in a house en un como no es un cerro, but it's a hill. And next to my house era un terreno baldío, right? So like there was no, it was just like grass and flowers and stuff. And my uncle, sister, and I would go down this hill and we would like collect ladybugs. Um, and during that time is when I met my padrino when I was young, when I was little in East LA, because they used to take care of me growing up. So, anyways, I don't know, all of these little memories came in as soon as I saw the ladybug. I recorded the ladybug, and I was kind of on a time crunch because after that, I had a recording for the podcast with a guest. So let's say it was 11 a.m. and I had 30 minutes to get ready. And tell me why at 11 a.m. we're done with the car. He comes into the house and I'm talking to him. And we get into like such a deep conversation. I'm bawling my eyes out. Ay, ay, ay. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a recording. But I feel like, I don't know, as I was talking to him, I was like, wow, this is not only am I protected, right? Like my car is okay and everything was okay and I am safe, but then I am guided. When I was talking to him, he gave me a lesson that, I feel like I've been needing, and that, like, there's things sometimes that maybe seem so obvious to others but aren't obvious to us. There are, like, ways of seeing life that we get caught up in that sometimes we see everything through that lens y no cambia, right? Because we don't think that it could change. So he told me, and you're gonna hear this in the episode that I recorded after because it was such a big moment, but that one's not coming out until a couple of months. So I'm gonna tell you right now. He told me, Priscila, yo te he dicho millones de veces que si necesitas algo, que me lo pidas. I'm gonna cry, by the way. So if you don't want to hear me cry, goodbye. Thank you for listening to the episode. Oh, okay. Y tú nunca me pides nada, he said. And I like instantly, got teary-eyed, and I was like, I know, like, thank you. Because the thing is, it's true, every time he used to say that, I was just like, thank you. But I never received it. I never really thought that's true. And I think it's my hyper independence. Um, and my way of seeing things like, oh, he has so much on his plate. Like, I don't want to put more on it. I talked about them a little bit. They grew, or I grew up with their daughter, and their daughter is in a wheelchair, and she has lost mobility over the years, and they have a lot on their plate with her. They're still, she's 40, and they still take care of all of her needs. And so I kind of like, started crying, and I was just like, I know, like, thank you. I just always feel like you guys have enough on your plate. And also I felt really bad that I was going to just call you to ask for something, but I didn't give you anything like over the last couple of months. Like, I didn't even call you. And he was like, see, that's where you're seeing, like, ahí es donde estás equivocada, he told me. Um, he was like, tú, tú no te acuerdas, or like, tú no te acuerdas, pero tú nos has dado tanto. And he was like, when you and your sister came into our lives, you guys brought us so much joy. We were going through, our daughter's diagnosis, and we're in the dumps basically, and or like not in the dumps, like very sad and depressed. And then you guys brought so much joy, and he's like, tú ya me pagaste desde hace mucho tiempo por ser quien eres. And when he said that, I was just like, whoa, like, and he was like, ¿tú te acuerdas lo que tú dijiste cuando tú te graduaste del colegio? And I vaguely remember. Obviously, I told him sí, like, but he's like, tú pusiste, yo tengo dos papás, dos mamás, and like, and thanks to you guys, I'm here and I graduated. And like, I basically kind of dedicated my, my degree to them. And he's like, ese día tú me hiciste llorar, y ese día yo supe que tú eras mi familia. Or he said, like, it sealed the deal, like, obviously we've always said we're like family, but he's like, you confirmed it as an adult. And he was like, for example, your friends, if your friends ever ask you for help, would you help them? And I was like, yeah, like, of course. And he's like, would you think like, oh, they haven't given me enough, so no? And I was like, no. And he's like, that's how it is with me. Like, I'm here. I want to help. I will, like, don't look at me with eyes of, you won't know how to carry it all. Like, he's like, I've carried so much. You don't even know. And like, you don't have to take on that responsibility. Like, you get to lean on me. And I think it was so big for me because I do tend to sometimes feel alone, and I do tend to feel like I don't have a lot of spaces to lean on, and that I don't have a lot of people to rely on. And it just gave me such a big perspective shift that I think I needed, because as the eldest, and no sé, we grew up with this idea that any of our needs are too much for others, that we don't want to burden others, that we don't want to put more on other people's plates because they have enough. But yet that means that we will continuously put more on our plates, right? And I don't see life in, like, I didn't see it that way. And I told him that, I was like, thank you, like, gracias por esta plática, porque it's true. Like, you always tell me I'm here for you, and I don't know, I guess, how to access that help all the time, or when is the right time, or when can I. And it just like reflected back to me so big, like how hyper independent I am, even when there is support, it doesn't feel tangible to me all the time, you know? And so, how beautiful, I think, to be reminded by this intention in this candle. I am guided, I am protected, I am safe, to let that door of possibility open and everything that flew in through it. Even the fact that my car seemingly was the issue, and yet it opened the door to that conversation, and then the issue went away and that door closed. Isn't that so beautiful and so cool? And like, you can miss it if you're not present, if you're not paying attention, if you're not like, yeah, open to like the magic of life, you know? Because it was kind of like a false issue. It was like the issue happened, I think, for this to happen and to unlock a conversation that maybe wouldn't have happened otherwise. And then the issue went away. And I think I've noticed that that is sometimes how God, the universe, our highest selves works. It's really hard to explain it, and it can almost feel fake or fufuru. There we go, is how Adelie calls it. Fufuru, like too, like, spacey. It can feel like, ay, te lo estás inventando. But I have felt that that's the undercurrent of guidance and support from God, universe, or whatever you believe in. It like comes in and sweeps away stuff that you didn't think could be swept away, or moves stuff in ways that you didn't even know had to be moved or shifted or transformed. And that's what this path has been like, at least for me. It hasn't been this like, I trust the universe, I take the leap, and then boom, all the beautiful things happen and I become rich, right? And everything aligns, and all the opportunities and all the money comes in. It has not been that. But it has taken me through this path of healing in ways I never thought I could heal, conversations I never thought I could have, perspective shifts I never knew I needed. It's been a windy road, but it has aligned me to things that I would have never. Priscila, la puede lo todo, la de la carrera, would have never put herself in these situations, in the situations that I have been led to due to me taking these leaps. And a veces, yeah, I need help. And I would have never willingly chosen to need help and need support, or to need to be held. And yet, going on this path, y las carencias that I have experienced have been filled and have healed parts of me that I never knew could heal. And I and that is like the grounded expansion that I was talking about in the episode with Michael. That is the grounded expansion. And that is the version of intuition, universe, spirit-led, soul-led, soulpreneur that I want to portray and show you guys. Authenticity, a very real, authentic version of what it's been like to be on this journey for me, so that you don't compare yourself to the people who only share the good stuff and maybe forget to share the other stuff, or find it too hard to share the other stuff, or don't think they're worthy until they are in the big shiny things, and then that's all that they share, because it is hard to say like, oh, listen to my podcast or join my groups or my services, but I don't have my shit together just like you don't. But it's reality. Like, the truth is, the majority of people don't have it all figured out. But it's hard to feel worthy of other people's attention or respect or money or whatever. It's hard to believe that you deserve that if you don't have it all figured out, which is why many people portray that they do. And so, I've been deepening and deepening into the reality that I want to be part of the representation that is grounded in reality and is also searching for that expansion, you know? So I hope that you guys enjoyed today's episode. I weaved in a lot of storytelling. I hope que, or stories pues de mi vida. I hope that you guys enjoyed them. Let me know which of them resonated or what stood out to you from today's episode. And thank you. Thank you for being here. Please make sure that you subscribe to the podcast if you're not already, that you rate it if you haven't, and that you check out So Primas and see. Like I said, right now no hay muchos detalles. It's just like letting me know that you're interested in hearing more through my link tree. But please do so if you are, and stay tuned. I'll be sharing more next week. I'll have a guest on next week, and I'll talk to you guys later. Cuídense mucho. Bye.